The anime begins with a girl named Rinko who going to Yuto's house to wake him up for school. Since he doesn't wake up easily, she uses her cat to wake him up, because he is allergic to cats. He finally wakes up and they walk to school. On their way, she reminds Yuto that it's his birthday, which is also the anniversary of Yuto's parents' deaths. Then Yuto brings out the charm that his grandmother gave him to show Rinko, but at that moment a strange girl with a sword appears and begins to seduce Yuto. Rinko gets angry and drags him to school. But Yuto thinks about the girl in the class and Rinko notices. After class, a boy named Taizo invites Yuto to the cafeteria with him, but Rinko pulls him up to the roof and challenges him about thinking about the girl in the class. Meanwhile, Taizo is possessed by a dark aura, and Rinko and Yuto are attacked by the possessed Taizo as they argue on the roof. Suddenly, the strange girl from before comes to defend them. He easily defeats Taizo, and the spirit possessing him emerges as a bug, which she finishes it off. Later that night Yuto wonders who the girl could be, and at that moment a cat crawls into his room and turns into the girl. She starts to seduce him again, but Yuto stops her and questions her. She explains that the charm his grandmother gave him is now weak and attracts Ayakashi. Under a vow she is mandated to protect him. She introduces herself as Himari as she is also Ayakashi in a cat form. Suddenly, Rinko knocks on his door and catches them in a very bad situation and a fight breaks out between them. The next morning, Himari enrolls in Yuto's school and sits next to Yuto, causing Rinko to burn with jealousy. In the next scene, Himari explains that Yuto is part of the Omakawa family, who are part of the 12 Devil Slayers. And during some events, Omakawa spared her life, so a covenant was made to protect Yuto. Out of jealousy, Rinko challenges her to a duel to decide who will take care of Yuto. Unfortunately, despite being the best athlete in the school, she is no match for her, and Himari effortlessly defeats her in all sports. The next morning, Rinko decides to apologize to Yuto before she apologizes to Himari, but she finds them both in bed, so she gets angry and they fight again. In the next scene, we see a green-haired girl standing on top of a tank on the roof of the school as she makes a statement about killing all the demon slayers. The next day at school, Taizo comes up with the idea of them all going to the beach to honor Himari, and they all agree. Later that day as Himari and Yuto walk home, she complains about not having a swimsuit, so Yuto says they'll get her a swimsuit tomorrow. Himari then happily runs off and leaves him alone. Shortly after, it starts to rain and suddenly Yuto hears a threatening voice as he sees a vision of the green-haired girl. The next day, Yuto, Rinko, and Himari go shopping for swimsuits. On the way, Yuto tells them about his experience last evening and Himari swears to protect him. Eventually, Himari gets a new swimsuit as well as some modern clothes since she only wears old Japanese clothes. The next scene they arrive at the beach and Taizo stares at the women's busts. Rinko then realizes that Himari can't swim due to her nature of being a cat, so she gives her a whale float to float on in the sea while she and Yuto go for fun. But in the meantime, the green-haired girl is watching them. Yuto notices that Himari is floating alone on the whale, so he swims over to keep her company. But unfortunately they are attacked by a sea monster that drags them down. Yuto wakes up in front of the green-haired girl who introduces herself as Shizuku. She is about to kill Yuto when Himari arrives and saves him, so she summons a sea monster that traps Himari with its tentacles, and she plunges them into a whirlpool. Yuto jumps in to save her which surprises Shizuku. They both fight in the vortex and then Himari punctures herself and the blood mixes with the water, making it uncontrollable for Shizuku. Himari tells Yuto to run while she holds Shizuku off. But Yuto refuses and tells her he can't leave. This action surprises Himari and Shizuku so she decides to leave them to kill another day. Next season Shizuku is seen in the woods as an entity blames her for sparing their lives. Sometime later, while Yuto is thinking about yesterday's event in the bathroom, Shizuku suddenly appears in the bathroom. Seeing Shizuku, Yuto screams so Himari and Rinko run towards her. They are shocked to find Shizuku there but she begins to explain. From her words, she is surely saddened by the past brutality of demon slayers against her kind. Yuto assures her that he is not meant to fight. Shizuku then decides to live with them and continues to impress Yuto with her excellent household skills. Shizuku then taunts Himari about her inability to offer Yuto anything other than protection. Next scene Yuto's class teacher meets Himari on the road and connects her with Lislet, who is the cafeteria maid, to offer her a job. Himari and Lislet both realize that they are not human as they grin at each other fiercely. Soon Himari starts her new job as a waiter in a cafe. So Yuto and the others decide to visit the cafe and order tea when they get there. Lizlet thinks Yuto and the others have come to kill her, so she puts some magic in Yuto's tea, which makes him go home. Fortunately, Shizuku was able to identify and save him in time. Himari becomes enraged and begins to attack Lizlet. In the process, the magic tea is released into the air and sends all of her customers back home. Himari pierces Liz's chest, but she doesn't die. She then deduces that she must be Atsukomagami, an artifact that comes back to life after 100 years, but comes back as a body while the artifact is in another place. Himari guesses that the artifact is about tea, so they realize it's a cup. She proceeds to destroy it, but the teacup slips and Yuto saves it. Liz is surprised by Yuto's action and she thanks him, which this action makes Shizuku trust Yuto even more. The next day, Shizuku, Himari, and Rinko all dress up as waitresses to impress Yuto. When Yuto wakes up, finds his hand on a Himari's watermelon and also sees Shizuku in bed. Suddenly, Rinko finds them in bed and attacks them all. They all then go to the cafe where they all discuss their reasons for staying near Yuto. It is clear from the discussion that Yuto doesn't remember his past life with Himari as they were close in the past. Later that night, she decides to go back to Yuto's grandparents' house to bring back Yuto's memories. The next day, everyone arrives home and at first glance Yuto remembers the house his grandparents had. They are greeted by a girl who introduces herself as Kaya, who is a Shikiwarashi. But Kaya blames Yuto for Himari's departure. Finally, everyone enters the house. Himari and Yuto both pray for his dead grandparents. After a while she starts seducing Yuto, hoping to bring back his memory, and luckily it works and he remembers her as a cat. When he was little, as he loved her passionately. Himari hugs Yuto as he finally remembers, but what they don't know is that they are all being spied on by two demons. Himari doesn't seem worried as one of the demons interrupts their hugging. The demon introduces herself as a Jiha, an air demon that feeds on human blood. As the demon moves towards Yuto, Himari quickly grabs her sword and clothes and they begin to fight. Meanwhile, another demon called Sasa appears in the house and starts attacking everyone, and this video ends here. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part.